Okay, amazing. I think we can start now.
Yes, go on,
Great.
start. So the topic is level up. How do you level up your gaming career? Basically, how can anyone navigate and network in this gaming industry, which can sometimes feel like a no way. Like, I guess everyone knows the idea here.
Yep.
Yeah, so for today, we are going to start a bit with the introductions, and with our panelists, we will ask them about how they stepped into their game dev journey, and what obstacles they faced and how they cleared it, and what are their advice for someone who is new on joining the industry. And then we will move on to the attendees who have registered. If they have any questions or if they want a CV review or any sort of questions they want to ask us, then we will move on to there. And I guess we can probably start with Bilal first and ask him that how he started making games. And I think he has a very interesting journey as far as I know about him. So Bilal, give us some few words.
Yes, I was actually setting up the camera. Um, yes, I'm an indie game developer, and I've started making games as a hobby, you can say, and which slowly graduated to me being a professional by getting into IGDA Pakistan and connecting with some people starting from here, right? Which is one of the interesting parts, and which is why I ended up becoming the IGDA Pakistan board member later on. And I'm also working as a game designer at Frag Games. Yes. So that's my
Yeah,
intro. Let's go on now.
yeah, very nice. I actually wanted to, go to the part where you left the proper medical studies, and that
Oh
was more
yes,
interesting.
that one
If you can
too.
share that.
Yeah, sure, sure. Actually, when I was a hobbyist, I was actually doing my MBBS studies at International Islamic International Medical College, the Rifa University. And there I used to actually do game dev. When the anatomy class was happening, I had this phone in my hands and I was in the corner of the anatomy classes, listening to the lecture. Not really, but I have this phone, and there I was doing the game dev on this application called C4 Droid, where I used to make games in C++ SDL2. That was how I started out as a hobbyist, and it was a fun time. I mean, I didn't know of the engine and stuff at that time. And my brother, my big brother, he was actually doing BScs in Maju, or now it's called CUST, the Capital University of Science and Technologies. There he opted for a game programming course, and he shared with me that he's doing Unity stuff, and he wanted me to help him out because he actually didn't like programming and stuff. And he was like, Bilal, कर दो ये मेरा assignment है, कर दो, मैं आपको बदले में I will give you pizzas and burgers. Let's just do this, for me. And I was like, I hate engines. I back at those days, I used to not like game engines simply because I was not aware of the fact that they give you control and power as well. Like, you can do things fast along with the control that you have. But back in those days, I think that they kind of didn't have that sort of control, you know, with the engine as compared to doing it programming and all the nitty gritty details. I used to like it that way. So that is how I actually started out, Unity game engine, and then slowly shifted to Unreal, and doing stuff and growing from here on actually. So that's how my career actually started. In all honesty, it's my brother who actually shared with me the game course, and he actually he just wanted to cover the credit hours, you know. So he selected this course, and he already knew that his small brother like me is doing game programming, and he be like, I will give it to him and do his courses and stuff. There's this issue with the carriers, right? That people go to the wrong carriers without understanding the carriers, and that is how such problems happen. Which is largely, me doing MBBS, my brother doing BScs, even though he didn't like programming and stuff. I am doing MBBS, even though I'm not I was never into medical stuff. So that's a problem, very inherent problem in the entire career thing with the students. So I think we can start from here. Like, uh, in what ways can we help others understand that what careers to opt for, or stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So, is your brother doing any kind of game dev, or he totally
No,
left after doing CS?
totally. Like, he's now a business person handling my father's a business, which is actually a banquet hall back in my village, right? That is what he's doing.
Oh,
It's totally
very nice.
different. Yeah, totally different.
Yeah,
So
very interesting. Very interesting. Next, I think we can call Vajiha, and she's a solo dev, uh, and making games by herself. And we would also like to know about you, Vajiha, how you stepped into the game development and what inspired you to be a game dev. Are you there?
oh, she also got the internet issues. You're mute, by the way, Vachia, in case you're talking.
Vijay, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Yep.
I think she probably have the internet issues. We can move on and probably come back to her. So Sonia, if you can talk about that, how you entered the game industry, what you are doing right now, and what's your career path? What did you study? What's the background?
For sure. Hi everyone, I'm Sonia. I am a producer at Frag Games. Uh, my journey, dear Lord, pre-prepared. As Bilal mentioned, like he had a very interesting journey coming into gaming. Mine was just like it's a complete roller coaster. I am a lit grad. I studied literature. Before that was literature and linguistics. And initially, I was in theater. So, like actor and scriptwriter. And from that, I actually shifted into journalism. I was in Dawn Images. But I don't know if any of you ever read Dawn Images back in the day, but like a lot of those articles were mine, especially the ones which were talking about how sab kuch bahut kharab hai. Those were all mine, theek hai na? Like the negative Nusrat was me. Um, during COVID, when everyone was being told to sit at home and stay at one place, I was like, job badal dete hain. Because at that point, basically, journalism had become very intense. I'll be very honest. It was very triggering writing about, like, especially if you remember 2020 COVID, like, that was traumatic, doing the news. It was never my calling. It was writing that was my calling. I always was a writer, literature, theater. Like I've always been a writer at heart, and that always stuck with me. In the middle of it all, a position opened up in Frag Games in their business department where they wanted somebody to help with pitch writing, managing the team a bit. And when I got there, the boss was just like, "Oh, so have you played games?" And I'm like, "I have been a gamer since I could walk, I think, since I could crawl. Like, Sonia in diapers would crawl towards her Sega, switch it on, and like khelna shuru kar deti thi. Like, baby did not speak, but she could play Mario. So, always had been a gamer at heart. And within the being a gamer and having a lens for it, it suddenly just switched in such a way that right now I'm making it as a producer. I have only been in the gaming industry, like it's not been a complete 3 years, but within those 3 years, I have climbed the ranks to the point that right now, not only as a Women in Games ambassador, I'm actually also the community manager and in the leadership team for the Asia chapter that was launched for Women in Games. So we're always planning events over there. We're having events like these. And I have had like multiple sessions which talk about leveling up your gaming career simply because everyone's like, you have 10 years of experience in life for as a professional worker, and aapne itne like recently out of nowhere you made the switch to a gaming career. And I think one of the things I always tell people is, listen, when you're a child in the 90s, when you're a baby in the 90s, you are told of the two amazing career paths. You have so many options of being either a doctor or an engineer. And then mashallah 2000s mein teesra option aa gaya tha lawyer. That's all you know. You did not know that gaming could be a career like that. Girl grows up in the gaming industry. I thought the closest I could go was into film. I was like, nahi, main theater. I was the rebel. I will go into theater. I was like, this is not working out as well. And making that journey, I think leaving Dawn Images was huge for my family as well, because that's all I needed to say as a professional. मैं Dawn में काम करती हूँ. They're like, oh wow, you're a journalist at Dawn. बस no more questions asked. क्या करती हूँ? Right now I'm like, I'm a producer for video game. अच्छा तो करती क्या हो? अच्छा, so no, like, so you talk to, so you write, so like, what is game? And if I ever talk about how my day was, like, oh, we had to figure out this pipeline, they're like, sure. So it was a transition that a lot of people in my family, my parents were supportive, but my family did not understand. They're like, games, kya scene hai ye games ka? there's in Pakistan, like I still get questions ki scope kya hai gaming industry ka, and I'm like, where do I begin? Do you not understand? It is huge because we still have the doctor engineer mentality. And I'm like, engineering maybe like, I mean, come on, game dev guys, it's still there. It's so for me, it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of previous experiences and soft skills which I brought back from my other careers and like a very interesting life that I lived with the roller coaster that happened that I made it here. And now I'm just like, I'm going to stay here because I want to make the next horizon. Let's do this. So back to you, Ruj. Let's continue introductions for a bit.
Yeah, very nice, very interesting. So I think I will quickly move on to Wajiha because of the internet issues. As long as she's connected, I guess we can get her intro.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep getting disconnected. I think it has a dislike
Okay,
to
see,
you.
you can unmute, but I think abhi bhi thoda chal raha hai issue.
You can't hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so my story is almost very similar to Sunia's story. I am also I'm from the 1980s, but I am a gamer kid. I used to play Pac-Man and tanks, and I used to love uh, playing Super Mario. I never got beyond level 3, but I was always into it. And then PC games were always my favorites, Wolfenstein. And, well, uh, like Sonia mentioned, there were only two categories to go into engineering or medical. My category was medical. My category was chosen by my mom. I wanted to go into Air Force because my dad is a retired Air Force officer. But at that time, they were not inducing girls. So I had no other choice. I went into medical. Uh, my scores were not good enough. So then I went into computer science. My final year project for my bachelor's was a game made completely in C Sharp using Windows applications. There was no Unity at that time. So this was 2007. And I really, really enjoyed making that game. I had a lot of help, but then my career changed again. I became a writer at an IT company, technical writer, content manager. There are a lot of names for that. And the same story, nobody understood what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm a writer. Yeah, what do you do? Web design? Web design? Okay, you are UI design, UX design? No, I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I manage the content that goes on the website. Nobody understood this. Nobody still understands this. Later on, it got kind of torturous. The clients did not want to give content, so I did not know what to manage. So I left my job and I joined a couple of courses to get into design. And then I discovered Unity. I played around. Then I found out that, my God, this was supposed to be what I should have gone into in the first place. So since 2019, I left my job. And since then, I've been playing around. And this January, I released my game. I'm a complete solo indie. Nobody is with me. I use asset stores assets, and I have done absolutely everything on my own. So that's my journey. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, that's really nice, really interesting that how everyone comes from a totally different background. For me, it was also quite the same, like the two options like medical or engineering. So I straightforward said that medical तो मैंने करना ही नहीं है. So although like my mom was always like that, why don't you want to do medical? Because like in our society, there's a huge privilege attached to being a doctor, and everything is you get an easy life once you are a doctor. So well, then I opted for engineering. So I studied pre-engineering for a while, but um, the teachers weren't that good, and मेरा कोई इतना खास इंटरेस्ट डेवलप नहीं हुआ उसमें भी. So during my university, I left the pre-engineering thing and I totally went for the business side. And I graduated in business. Even though मुझे उसमें भी कोई ऐसा जितना interest नहीं था at the time, but I was like, okay, this is something good, and like I will be able to have fun because at least in our society we have the impression that जो भी fail होता है वो आके BBA या MBA उठा लेता है, बाकी पढ़े लिखे लोग जो है वो डॉक्टर इंजीनियर बन जाते हैं। I was like यार मतलब ठीक है, मतलब यहाँ पे थोड़े से फेलियर वाले लोग आएंगे, थोड़ा सा पढ़ना पड़ेगा, पास हो जाएंगे, बाकी I can time I can spend enjoying. So, which was pretty much true because there were students from other fields whose life didn't depend on studying only. They had different hobbies and stuff, and I was the only nerd in the class. They usually called me Theta. But however, everything happened, and I graduated, and then job started. I joined a software house, and like my parents at that day, they were like, okay, finally she has a job, thank God. And they didn't know for quite a while that actually I was doing games. And when they found out, they were like, what kind of job this is? Like, you play games all day? Like, what job is this? What stupid man would pay you for playing games? I was like, apparently this is happening, and I'm totally enjoying it. And what happened further down the line that I changed my job, I shifted to my current studio VR play, and then again my parents were like, okay, you are changing the job, but make sure this time you are not going to play games again. And I changed the job, and I was like, guess what? I'm playing games again. So yeah, that has been quite a fun journey for me. Uh, so I guess we can move on, and like we all came from I guess different backgrounds. We didn't start in the gaming, so I would like to ask like what difference do you guys find between the other industries in Pakistan and the gaming industry in general? Because for me, I do find that there's quite a lot of difference in the culture and how people interact with each other in the gaming and outside the gaming industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if we have noticed this pattern everywhere, like not just us four, it's throughout the gaming industry, at least in Pakistan, that people are from different backgrounds and they end up realizing, okay, gaming is a thing, and they join that industry. And I feel like we are sort of missing, I guess, not we, but many people in general are missing this head start, that is to just simply go directly straight into the gaming industry and to start just from there, right? So what are the thoughts on that? If any of you can speak up on that, and yes, feel free to ask the questions.
I think a lot of it is the lack of awareness of everything. Like I mentioned for myself, I've been a gamer all my life, and I used to think how cool would it be to make a game, but I had no idea how to go about that. Heck, like a child before Google was invented. So like, आपको क्या पता resources क्या हैं जब आपके खानदान सिर्फ डॉक्टर इंजीनियर बात कर रहा है, and your rebellion is कि I'll be an artist, I'll be a writer. So you're already like, you've already strayed the path. You don't even know how to achieve that. But in general, like, I think now people, like especially the new generation who are now entering, who are like graduating college and entering universities, they're the ones who are finding out, who know that this is a career that's available. Like I'm very optimistic that the next gen will hopefully just be aiming to be in the gaming industry and then working towards that. For a lot of us, I think a lot of the gaming studios that exist in Pakistan are from people who also have switched their careers and were like, नहीं हम लोग ये create करेंगे यहाँ पे. Like what? I think the oldest would be what, around 15 years old? Maybe like if I'm being really ambitious, maybe 20. Highly doubt it. Like 20 years ago, अगर एक studio बना भी था, वो क्या बना रहा होगा? With whatever resources they had back in the day, with whatever they could figure out. And there wasn't much, especially in this country. And all those people who were working on it were people who had already come from different backgrounds. There were a lot of folks who were probably working abroad in IT, who were probably working in like Bilal probably being a doctor, or like me being a journalist, and they're like, "Nee, hame writing karni to game writing mein aa gaye." Somebody's like, "No, I want to understand programming mein aa gaye." So a lot of the people who exist right now are people who probably shifted from something else. If we had people who were artists, they were artists in advertisement brands, they were like in agencies. They're the ones who shifted here and started doing game art. So that journey for studios themselves in Pakistan is so fresh. So for all of us, like, it makes sense that a lot of us had like different studies and different backgrounds through which we came here. What I find fascinating is that almost every background kind of figured out and managed to come here, which means that shows that how diverse the gaming industry itself is. I don't have that picture with me right now, but I remember a very amazing picture that went viral on LinkedIn, which was about the all the branches that exist in the gaming industry and all the positions within it. Subtle differences के साथ like two three like product manager अलग है, project manager अलग है, ये creative director अलग है, ये अलग है, ये like they like lists of like different departments and branches. Even I didn't know that, and I'm in the industry. I was like, oh yeah, all of this exists. Like our company, Frag Games, Bilal, you also are a part of it. Like you've seen how like the design team came into formation, how different specialties came into formation. We have been growing slowly ever since I've been a part of it. So I think the main reason is that that's why we always end up coming from different paths. And in the future, and I'm not even saying like 10 years down the line, I think less than 5 years down the line, we'll have people who will be making that plan कि like, नहीं मुझे game developer बनना है. And they will be doing their A level, inter, their college, their university according to that. So that's a little thing that I have in mind. See, Nofal has a question.
Yeah, there's a question. My question is
Mm.
that I want to know what drives you or is your inspiration every time you sit down to work. I think gaming industry kind of grows on you once you start working on it. Because honestly, I didn't know कि पाकिस्तान में कोई game dev studio भी है before I started working in the industry. It was so hidden. And also like even like Sonia said कि 20 years back there was like maybe one studio, like not even one. I think the first one started in around uh, 2005, or if I'm wrong then maybe 2003, sometime there at. So and even today we struggle to find skilled human resources. So back 20 years back, I don't think there was even like a proper degree for someone in the game development even. Today, there is not a specific academic degree that is specifically teaching you game development. A few diplomas and courses have started, but still we don't have anything like that. Or even they do start a degree, they don't probably have skilled enough teachers to actually go and teach out there. But when you start in the industry, I think once you start working in games, it's something that grows on you. You find it interesting and you probably don't want to leave it. But that's what it is for me. But there are also some people who are just doing it as a job. But I generally feel that for me, it has been a very enjoyable career.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, what drives me is simply that I play games, I imagine games, and I talk to game devs every day. And that really helps me keep on developing games as a hobbyist and also as a professional.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. Um, I'm very happy I'm in the game industry, and this is the one that I want to stick in. The drive definitely there is drive that comes from again like never believing that I could be in the game industry. This is huge. I think I will be a little brutally honest here. In the end, it is a job. And in the end, you have to wake up, you have to go to work, you're in the office, you're staring at a screen, you get burnout, you get tired. It is not the fairy tale that you think it is. In the end, it is a job. In the end, you will be looking at, and I think game designer Bilal can definitely agree with me. When people think game design, they think that there are people with a huge D&D board and they're like throwing sparkles in the air, but it's like 50,000 Excel sheets.
Yeah.
Like there are so many Excel sheets. You have like आपका
Oh my
dyslexia on
God.
है.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
see,
cannot
even
get
though
better
this
than
is
that
getting triggered,
when like we advertise for game designers, we get a lot of graphic designer CVs and 2D
Yep.
artists and 3D that we want to design a game. And I'm like, bro, it's not graphic design. It's like 1,000 sheets of Excel where you are managing the whole, the economy, the glaive, the character design,
Exactly. So
and
much math. Like there's so many people who think हम games बनाएंगे हमें math नहीं आती and you're like sweetie, I have news for you.
no.
आपने जो stats की class bunk की थी ना वो आपको अब बहुत लगने वाली है.
I guess maybe they can make a hyper casual game, but if you are going to like a bit of a hardcore gaming, you need to know your physics formulas at least.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you can calculus. And, I
Absolutely.
think derivatives there are huge
Yeah,
use. Without that,
exactly.
you're probably gonna
Exactly.
be
So like
so bad.
you really need to have your
Oh, yes.
own Like it is the same. Like there are days when I wake up, like especially the milestone close ho jata hai and you see something form or there's something you can finally play on your computer and you're like, wow, we did that. Uske baad to your motivation is on another high. But there are definitely days where I will say there is very little difference between me and the accountant who's sitting in HBL right now and like has to talk to someone. So I mean I want to be very realistic about it. I don't want people to come thinking that every day is a party because there are people who have come in the game industry because they think games and fantasy and हर दिन हम लोग बस क्रेटोस के साथ पहाड़ कूदने चले जाएंगे etc. But in the end they do all of this and they're like yeah this isn't it and they a lot of people end up quitting because their expectations were not met. So like that is something
That's
I'll
true.
definitely lay
Like
out
because
there.
obviously it's not always rainbows and fun. Because
Yeah,
when you are working on a project, you have deadlines to meet, you
yeah.
have client expectations, and you have to deliver on time if you want to earn money. There's a separate thing if you are doing it as a hobby, then you don't have to meet anyone's expectations. Sure, Gia, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a fairyland that we are enjoying ourselves in. Yeah. It's hard to motivate yourself when you're stuck in something and you have nobody to turn to. I got stuck in dialoguing 2 days ago and I spent a whole week banging my head against everything possible. And then I finally did it. I did it. And I was dancing around, prancing around. And I was literally jumping on my bed that I did it. I'm doing solo and I did it. That is the motivation that I have at least. That's what makes me say I have committed myself to. I have released my game on Steam, so there's a commitment there. So my users are waiting for updates, even if there are no users. But I tell myself that there are people who are waiting for you. You have to go ahead. You have to move it. और वैसे भी it's very enjoyable when you see something that's working. मेरा spiders have my spider started to bite. I started to celebrate. My character started to jump properly. He was not jumping correctly in the beginning. He was like falling halfway through. So when he started to jump correctly, I started to celebrate. When I added a second attack, I started to celebrate. But I don't need motivation. I think, in my opinion, uh, yes, to motivate yourself when you are stuck, that is something of climbing a mountain, maybe. But at the end of the day, you can get it. You have to tell yourself that you can do it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah,
You can do
exactly.
it.
Totally. Like like Sonia just said that it's like an accountant job, playing with numbers in the on the Excel sheet. But how do we like continuously go till the end of a project? It's simply because to me, for me personally, it's the game at the end of the day. That imagination, the concept that comes in the form at the end of the day. That's what makes us keep going. At least for me personally. And Nofal has a question.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah. No, Nofal has this question. He has shared. If we talk about game dev,
Talk
there
a
is a boom only in hyper casual industry in Pakistan, whereas hyper casual die out
Hmm.
after some weeks they are launched. So how do we get a stable cash flow if we open a game studio in Pakistan? So do anyone has an answer to that?
Yeah,
Mm.
that's a very good question.
Yeah,
I
that is
guess
very
that I think that kind of falls within my job field. But to be honest, hyper casual games have a life of a few shelf life of a few weeks. So you are making a product that probably is going to last at max 5 months. Like it used to be 1 year, but the time has even reduced further. It's like 3 to 5 months now. So you have to take out all your money in that 3 to 5 months. And for that, you need to be skilled. You have to have a proper monetization factors and stuff. So if someone is making their first game, whether a hyper casual or a PC game, and they are launching on Steam, it's a sad thing to break out, but your first game will probably fail. Because obviously no one knows you and you probably don't know your way around the market, so it's a bit hard. But the thing is that moving on, as you make more games, you start to get recognized in the industry and people know you, they start paying attention to you also. and also you get to network with people. So gaming industry, I would say it's a lot about networking, which people don't really realize. When even when I joined for like 2 years, I was quite in a closed off position. I was like, what I'm doing, and everything in Pakistan is making hyper casual, and where my career is going to go. It seemed like a dead end in the beginning, unless I started searching on my own and seeing that what people are there. So a lot of LinkedIn searches and Google searches about game game dev studios in Pakistan, what games are have been made in Pakistan, or games made by Pakistanis, and then I would search those people, like what are you guys doing and how did you learn and stuff like that. But again, to answer your question, hyper casual industry requires, especially the publishing side, requires a lot of funding and money. It's kind of hard to enter in this sort of business without having a proper funding behind you. So for a new person who wants to go out there without any cash in their bank, I will probably won't recommend it to them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Ruj says. I think a lot of people assume that like if you want to make a full-fledged game, like not hyper casual, even a mid-casual game, that we will, like just get it started, get working on it. There's a lot of money there. There are a lot of resources. There are a lot of developers, designers, artists, and a lot of that does depend on whatever investments we can get our hands on. And there is a bit of a vicious cycle over there. Like, do you have enough funds to start a prototype and be able to show that prototype to get investment? Then you get investments, then you move. It is a huge cycle. And the gaming industry is huge. It's, yes, it's relatively smaller in Pakistan, but it is huge around the world, but it is harder to get into. If any of you go to any of these like LinkedIn's or any professional talks, like the one that we're having right now, you will hear of a lot of people talking about how difficult it is to break into the gaming industry. So like getting those types of funds to like make a full-fledged game is a journey. It's a journey and a half. Yes, it's been happening recently. Companies are trying to make that happen. It's amazing. We're hoping for the best because I really want Pakistan to like have full-fledged games that we can say कि ये Pakistan में बना है. Like that is a huge, wonderful thing to be able to say. And there are people who are working towards it. But obviously it is slow. Like we can't be impatient with it. The moment you'll become impatient, there'll be a crash. So
Of
slow and
course,
steady.
like yeah, like we
Mm.
still need to develop our human resource. I think that is a bit
Yep.
of a challenge for all the studios who
Yes,
are
as you said before
like
about the training.
we have reached that point where the initial studios now have a bit of a cash flow and they want to go into much deeper or like hardcore development, but the problem is we don't find people who can actually provide that sort of development. We don't have that much skilled programmers or like animators. Not I'm not saying that there are none at all, but they are very limited in number, if even if they are there. So and like everyone is competing for them, and they probably also like to leave the country and work for someone abroad because of course better pays and uh, better life, I guess.
Which
We
is
have a question. I would like to say that game dev industry in Pakistan has only managed to see games as a product. How do you reckon we can move forward and find a balance where we carefully balance the business side with treating games as an art form experience and maturing our craft? I think that's probably still a
oh
long way
yeah.
because uh, of course, the funding and investment needed for such games, where you go from treating your game as a product to treating your game as a service, as a continuous service, where you provide updates after several periods, that requires a lot of resources and a very efficient production team that you can get out the content within I don't know, like 6 weeks is the limit. That's the maximum a service game can delay their content. You have to provide updates at least once a month. Like that's necessary. Otherwise, the service side is totally gonna fail. No one will want your game. You have so making that sort of content that quickly, I think it's still not possible within our industry. But that's just my own opinion. We will need a very fast production line and very agile teams to achieve that.
Yeah. I think, Zan, I think I would equate this, like, let me give an example. Think of the people here, like when film industry and the film courses in universities took a boom. Think of all the children who got their degrees in film and TV and right now are working in advertisement. They are making ads for Lipton. They're making ads for insert brand name here. Can't think of any right now. But like imagine like do you think all of them they wanted to create their art? They probably have a film script that they wrote when they were 15 and they want to make into a big proper film. Funds nahi hai itne easily. What do? They work in these jobs. They make the money that they need to pay their bills, save up, buy the nice camera, buy the nice crew, and then they'll one day be able to work on their passion project. That is kind of the similar situation that the games industry is in. Like as I mentioned before, you there's a cycle of making sure you have the investment to be able to do something that's a full-fledged proper game. um Bilal, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. Like as somebody who grew up playing games and I was finally in the game industry, I'm sure you have like some amazing game ideas which are like the next God of War. They, you know, like you have this amazing idea, narrative, and you're like, is type ka gameplay hoega, but you can't get that done immediately. So first you gotta make sure you have that money. So first you gotta treat it as a product. You make the money, you work in the services, you start putting some of that money into your own passion projects, and that's how it kind of goes in. Abhi, we're in the stage that we're doing the services and getting the money. Like few years down the line, we'll be able to work on passion projects. It is a slow climb. It is a slow burn. It's like grinding in Diablo. आप लोगों को like if you're playing Path of Exile, you're not going to get your favorite build immediately. You have to make sure that you first hit the right levels, you hit the right creatures, you go in the right dungeons, and then when you have grinded enough, you get to the point that you want to reach to.
Absolutely. Like I have started my own initiative, BSc Games, after earning enough from freelancing and jobs and stuff. And I have this small indie team where we are developing our little game. So that's exactly how, just like you said, Sonia. Okay, we have to first gather resources and then start off our own game dev studio, hoping that it will work out. Because again, it's a game dev industry is a hit based industry, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
It's a risk. It's a risk. It's a huge risk. You
Yeah.
don't know how well your game is going to do. You don't know how well your audience is going to receive it. You don't know how long it'll take to make your game because like Aruj mentioned, we still have people like the professionals of the industry are the ones जिन्होंने ठोका पीटी खा खा के सीखा है. Now they're training people. They're not well versed in training. Young ones are being trained, but they also don't know how to be trained. अब जाके वो pipeline शुरू हुई है that people are starting proper education on gaming. So like we don't even know how long it can take to make a game. We aren't expecting the bugs that can come in. We don't know if like the feature we have in our mind will even work. So that journey is really long. So like there is a lot of gamble here technically. Like there's a lot of risks and only the very jununi will be the ones who will work on their passion projects. Like no, ye to karna hai. I know this game will work. It is not easy. Like I will even give the example of bigger studios abroad. Like Horizon Zero Dawn is an amazing, huge game. Usko koi chance nahi dene wala tha. No one was willing to give it a chance. Sony took a chance on it then, and they were like, you know what, go for it, Gorilla. You guys do it. Like that game would have never been formed because when they were telling people, ये sci-fi ऐसी दुनिया है, ये open world होगी, इसके अंदर ये होगा, everyone's like, are you insane? That's not possible. Let's not. Like it almost didn't come into fruition. God of War, the new reboot, almost didn't happen because when Cory Balrog was talking about his single camera lens idea and the gameplay idea, people were like, no, that's not what it is. This won't work out. He almost quit because he thought he couldn't get it. Somebody else took a chance on him. Like there are situations of maybe somebody will take a chance on you, but your ideas, if they're crazy, like you don't know if they're going to work. Cory Balrog, like God of War is one of the biggest games right now. It sold like 11 million copies within 3 months. एंड उसका कोई चांस नहीं था, नहीं पता था कि लाइक ये सक्सेसफुल होगी या नहीं. The company was making that game, burnt out, no idea if it'll do a good job or not because it was such a drastic change from what it was before. So that's the risk that those huge studios are working with. We're still starting out, we're still young. So that journey, yeah, it's gonna take time, but it will make it. There's a lot of optimism, a lot of junoon. Like when Bilal's face lights up when I talk about being passionate, that's what we need to make this happen.
I mean, For me, it's like I personally want to see a AAA game being made out of Pakistan, although I think it will still take a lot of years. We are nowhere near it, but that's my dream at least, being in the industry.
Yeah, I
I
mean
share
it's
that
gonna.
dream with you,
Um,
Uruj. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, go on.
any game journey is supposed to be extremely slow and steady. I started to make my game in back in July. Every single day, my family used to come and ask me, "हो गया क्या? बेटा बन गया? बेटा बन गया? कितना हो गया? कितना बन गया? कितना हो गया? कितना बन गया?" And I released my
Uh,
game because of the pressure of my family, and I was like, "जाओ कर दिया release Steam के ऊपर." And now only I'm the one who knows that it needs a lot of development still. It is it's in its baby stages. I know there's a whole lot of work to be done. I know I made a mistake when I released it, but at least now nobody is asking me, बेटा बन गया, कितना रह गया है, कितना करना है अभी और कितना काम है. नहीं. Uh, it has to be slow and steady. You need to be very, very, very patient, and that's also an understatement. You have to be very, very patient. You need to have a lot of skills. Even if you have a team, you need to have every skill that you can imagine you need in a game industry. But you need music. You have to know the sense of sound. You have to have the sense of music, the background music, the environment art, the actual character art, the enemies that you are making. You have to have a lot of sense. You have to have a lot of knowledge. You have to have a lot of research, and a lot of patience.
Absolutely.
Again,
Yeah.
patience, patience, patience. It's a patience journey.
Yeah, ऐसे ही है. Like Rui just mentioned AAA game, and I personally think it's a again journey. Same thing. First, make a decent indie game or single A game, then double A, and then triple A. It's not gonna be a like single leap towards triple A, and that is something I keep telling everyone that start small. Maybe make some small, really good game that works out that the market likes, and after that maybe you can think of going double A and then slowly shifting to triple A. That's how it works.
Definitely. Also, I think we kind of need to promote some collaborations in our industry, because we know there are like 3 to 4 big studios who are making a good income, and if we do want to make a AAA game, we can probably all collaborate on that and work together. But I'm not sure if the if the business people are ready for it yet or not. But I mean, I would totally love that. It's like we also need to come out of our selfish interests for the industry to grow. Like for now, we have felt a lot that people are in their closed silos. They are only working that my company grows, and like only we are doing this. We are the first one to do this. In the long term, that's not really going to help the industry as a whole. Maybe you will grow alone, but again, growing alone is not something that will benefit you in the long run. You will need support, uh,
Yes, industry
and
growing.
you.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So okay, I guess we can look at some questions if.
Y-
Uh,
yeah, sure, sure. There are questions.
Hi.
There's one simulation games about simulation games. As simulation games has usually a long session time as we compare with others, which has more benefit in regards of. Acha. So basically, Munawar is asking whether simulation games has more benefit compared to simulation, hyper casual and action, with regards to investment or marketing,
Well,
right? Does
You
anyone
I
know,
have
mean,
answer
it's
to
confused
this?
question.
Yeah,
yeah, I got his question.
yeah.
Although it's not kind of really relevant here, but
Uh,
it's more of a business question. But yeah, simulation games do have a long session time, and I think any genre you make, it totally depends on your execution, that how you manage it. There are simulation games who have failed, but in general, they typically, I would say, work better than hyper casual. But again, you have to provide content at some level. There is a
Yeah,
same, yes, it's the same issue with hyper casual also, because they die because of the very reason that there is no content, and after a certain period of repetition, people don't want to play it anymore. So anything that's
yeah.
very repetitive and doesn't have
Also,
something new to offer
um,
will fail.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what your query over here is, but if you are talking about like simulation games versus hyper casual, the time and money that goes into making either is a huge factor on what is more possible to do, because a successful simulation game will require a lot more right before the release. With hyper casual games or even casual games, what people can do is release something small and then keep growing it. If a simulation game is not right from the get go, people will not be hooked to it. And that's something that needs a hook right in the beginning, because there is a lot more demanding there. So if that helps in any way over here about how we towards it, because even if it has a long session time, it also has a long production time,
Yeah.
very long.
Definitely. Also, like for some people, they think that changing the view mode from portrait to landscape actually makes their hyper casual a simulation game. That's also a trend going on. So sometimes it also happens like that. I have seen some games like that. Um, like I don't want to throw further shade on those people, but you need to have a proper features for that and a proper plan to launch that game. It could work, but it's only working because we don't have any better stuff in the market. As soon as some better thing comes, the product will go down.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yep. Yep.
The
Uh,
first game is always the first. Sorry.
uh,
Uh,
Rakeen,
okay.
Zia question. Yeah. Yeah. How
Yeah,
did
the first
you?
game is always the most difficult.
Hmm.
In your experience of first game, if made alone, how did you overcome the learning curve of the game engine, such as Unity, and what resources did you use to accurately turn your vision? I think Bilal can answer this better.
Yeah, sure. Well, there is no such way to really overcome the learning curve of game engine. I will be straight up saying this, right? Like, the
Yeah.
best way I personally think is to simply, first of all, learn the logic, the understanding, the programming part of it, right? Unity uses C sharp, maybe learn C sharp programming language or any programming language for that matters, right? And after that, it would be much better if you shift to learning Unity right after learning the programming language itself, because that really helps a lot. If you directly jump into Unity, you will get confused a lot when it comes to scripting, that why this is happening, what is for loop, what is while loop, and all those kind of things. And as for the resources, well, not really for me. The resources, well, YouTube. What else, right? So there's no really well, there is this thing called Game Train doing a great job with learning and teaching Unity, as far as I know, and I've heard a lot about them. But for me personally, I have never really used resources other than YouTube.
YouTube definitely and GDC Talk,
YouTube.
but they are more like GDC
Absolutely.
is more
It's
based on
enablement by that is
business
the
side, I
internet.
guess.
Yeah, even the GDC talks I watch on YouTube, so it's YouTube again.
Yeah, YouTube. Everything summarizes to YouTube.
Yeah,
Wide world.
yeah,
One thing
YouTube
I will say
is a treasure
Rakeen,
chest.
I noticed that your question is about like making your first game and like the hurdles you come from it. I'm guessing like you're even talking about once you've done all your reading and when you get down to the practical of it, you're kind of coming to those halts and pauses. Like Bilal said, one of the ideas is obviously when you're paused, you type in that issue and you figure it out on YouTube. I will say this, it is impossible. I challenge any human being on the planet, like maybe some Matilda level. I can't believe my reference was Matilda here. I'm so sorry. I should have said Limitless, but like some, born protege genius, will be like that's the only person. Like no one can make an amazing running game in their first go.
no one. Yep.
It's not possible.
Uh,
It's
there's a lot to
yeah,
learn, literally a
not
lot.
possible.
But
Look how
if you
people
are
are
starting,
heroic.
I think you can start with game engines like Game Maker, which
Yeah,
require no coding at all. And moving on, you can go to Unity. Unity offers its own tutorials, like step by step.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
teaches you how to make a game. So that's very
yeah,
good for beginners.
There's so much to
Unity also
learn.
has
yeah.
visual scripting.
Yeah,
A lot.
definitely that too. Unity has so much to learn. I mean, the game development has so much to learn. I recently learned how to make adaptive track on Fmod, which is a audio middleware software, and I also learned
Destroyed my project.
Quixel Mixer recently, in which you make textures for the 3D models. So there are lots of softwares and lots of things to learn, and it will never end. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, agree. Agree. I also kind of equate it to like when you first learn how to drive a car and you're like, ek do scratches to lagne hain. You're not going to understand like what the right speed limit is. Your brake will be jhatka, 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 and you're like, how do you stop it? It's like when you keep driving, when you keep going out on the road, कि आपका road sense बनता है. Like you can study about the car all you want. You can be like ये steering wheel है यूं करोगे, left है यूं करोगे, right है ये gear है, इंजन का सारा कुछ पढ़ लिया, but like when you get into the seat and driving, आपका road sense वगैरह, that's the kind of stuff that you kind of acquire while you're working. You will have ठोकरें, you will have to figure out exactly what went wrong where. You are going to be in a lot of pain when you'll have to look into, I don't know, thousands and thousands of line of code to figure out that one little typo somewhere lost way above scrolling to figure out कि ये था जिसको यूं करना है. Like maybe it was like T and Y and it should be Y and T and that's it. And then suddenly आपका bug सही हो गया, code smooth हो गया. So it is like you cannot. So it's not something that anyone should take into account that like if you are struggling in your first game, you're not capable at all. Never think that way. Never think like, oh, it's because I didn't study enough, or oh, I need to take 10 more crash courses to understand it. No, you're not alone. Will have a tough time. It's inevitable. What you can do is look to other people, community, and look to the wonderful YouTube. You will get it in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Uh,
Awesome. I would like to talk about a friend shared a wonderful document about industry roles. So I also would like to throw some light on how game industry is not all about programming. You don't have to be a software engineer to be a game engineer. So, like talk a bit about your roles. You want maybe describe what your role in a studio, and even if you are not from a BS background, you can still work in the industry.
Yeah, there are rules for everyone. Give examples. All examples.
Like,
Yes, there are. You don't need a developer to join the game industry. You have to be you can be a
Okay.
designer. What about design? The
Sorry.
games are basically made of art. I think that's how I got into the game industry. Most people enter the game industry basically over here. Essentially, there's cut. So I went to two schools when I started on my game journey. I went to WIG for a game course and Arena for a game course. But Arena sent me to Aptech telling me that gaming is all about development. WIG sent me to Aptech telling me that gaming is all about development. So that's a misconception that I have to address. There is a lot of there are a lot of roles in the game. A game is kind of it's a kind of a complete storybook. It's like a movie. It has music, sounds. It has a background. It has environment. It has stories. It has a hero, maybe a heroine if you want. So there are a lot of things in a game that you have to do, especially and one of the most important roles I think is QA. Quality assurance is also one of the an important roles because I haven't found a tester for my game yet, and I'm the only one who's playing it, and uh, I'm pretty sure that there are 1,000 things that somebody else can find that I haven't found yet. So you don't have to be a programmer. Okay, C sharp background is good, yes, but no, you don't have to go into the language.
yeah, that's true. Like, although I'm not sure if Chia would be open to it, but my company offers QA. You can outsource your QA to us. Uh, but moving on, QA
I
is
have no money
ignored.
to pay you.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But QA is also a majorly ignored role, and considering the gaming industry in Pakistan, there are several roles that are yet to be introduced in the industry. Like previously, we didn't see anyone from the marketing side or business development side. Recently, we have started to see people who are from the management side coming into the gaming industry. Also, I think there are still a lack of legal roles where people don't know how to handle contracts in the gaming industry. There is no one experienced in the IPs and the copyrights and the trademarks that are associated with the games. And then there comes music and all these sorts of things. If you are outsourcing, how do you manage contracts with those teams? And if there is an artist who is not on your salary, or like we what we say payroll, then how do you manage like the copyrights of their work? How do you credit people? Because people that are making games right now, or what we have observed, they are not crediting the creators or the programmers or the developers, artists, or all sorts of people who have worked together to bring that game. Um, there is literally no mention of those people, which need to be like recognized. And we need to start recognizing our people and put names of the people who are working hard on these projects. So I see that there are a lot of roles. Also, sound is quite of ignored factor. Like there are some studios who are working with sound designers and maybe composers, but if I go to international events, I see a lot of composers and sound designers that are looking for work. But uh, in our industry, there's hardly a person at any event who is relevant to sound. So there's quite a lack of sound people. Uh, Here also, I think artists are also quite few. Like what we mostly find are graphic designers, but art people are a bit few. And even if we do find them, most of them are illustrators. And they do need to explore a lot of stuff, especially in the 3D art. What we find are not exactly artists, but engineers who have shifted from architecture or civil engineering or these sorts of field towards the 3D art. I haven't seen a actual artist who actually began their career from 3D art as a source. So what do you guys think about that? And what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was trying to find resources, like people for my little team, and I was having troubles getting skilled guys, especially artists, as you mentioned, the lack of artists, right? And the only way for people like us is to actually train them in the studio before they are able to make 3D art, good enough 3D art. Especially when you are talking about a good, decent indie game. We're not talking about the kind of games that let's say hyper casual and stuff, which can use basic characters and stuff. I'm more into
Right.
indie and
Got
quality
that up.
games. Yeah.
And I'm guessing that you also had issues with not just like 3D art, but then 3D game art, understanding how that rig works and how it moves within a game, because it's a huge difference.
Yeah. The good part is that the kind of game I was opting for didn't require too much rigging and stuff. So our main issue was just the visuals, the look of the game, which
Mm.
I was having issue with. But yeah, definitely that too.
No,
I think
art
finding a
is, I
skilled
think,
person is actually a miracle like in our country. Like currently, what we are working on a game, and usually, like when you make 3D environments, your lighting and everything is static. But we I don't know, we had the crazy idea to make this that our environment shuffles around. So every time a piece shuffle around, the lighting and everything needs to change according to that, which created a lot of challenges for us. And we have spent quite a lot of time. I mean, most people would ask that why your game is taking such long time, but that has been quite a challenge to manage everything. As soon as the environment changes, everything has to shift dynamically according to that. And that did created a lot of challenge for us. And we were like, oh, does someone know how to do this? uh,
YouTube.
yeah, but like not, YouTube cannot actually work in your context. It will teach you the basic on how to do stuff, but to implement it in your project, it still is a different thing.
I would say have this mindset of experimenting out, trying out different things, and you will eventually find out I guess hacked up solution or tapes around the project or something like that. Basically, not the kind of
Yeah.
solution that is elegant, but it sort of works. That's the thing, which is very common in the game industry, by the way.
Yeah, duct tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people does that, but I think it actually at the end it creates problems with optimizations, and the stylizations, which we find, but I think it's more development of. Uh, okay, let's see if we have any other questions. How can a game dev startup? How can a game dev start scale up if it's only a service based at the moment? That is only based on freelance projects. Um, well, that's a good question. But I think then you can start working on your passion projects, but don't start something very big. Start small and see if it's sustainable for you. Anyone else, if they have any feedback on this?
I think I can give a little example of like Frag Games itself, actually. We have just been like Frag Games just celebrated 10 years in the industry. So, like, yay. Woohoo. But when it started out, it was a very small scale services industry. And over the years, slowly, first what they were doing were, oh, there's a small scale hobbyist working on a game project, we'll do the art for you. Okay, you need your code to be optimized, we'll do that for you. We started out with aspects of projects and slowly started, like gaining like the work, clientele. Um, Again, as previously discussed so many times already now, a lot of people were like also kind of learning on the project, learning about the game industry. Not everyone came in with formal education and experience. Some were experienced, but not to the extent that you would think they are. Slowly and gradually, like even when we were taking on those projects, there were like some mistakes made maybe sometimes every now and then that we would fix internally, make sure the client never finds out. And slowly it came to a point that just a few months ago, Frag Games was celebrating a game that's just been released on Steam and PS5. That's how you scale up. You scale up because whatever project you take on in your freelance gig, you need to make sure you learn from it. You need to make sure you can add a plus one to it. It's not something that you need to maybe pitch to the client. You don't want to make sure कि like कोई एक चीज आप risk ले रहे हो and it turns out to like fall flat on you, like it hits you in your own face. No need to do that, but you always make sure that you can add a plus one that you can then learn on as well. Okay, I know how to make a game like Temple Run. I'm going to make a character and I'm going to do this, and the character runs. But now, how do I add more collectibles, or how do I add a fight feature like in a game like that? Like, it's small growth. It's smaller things that you take on. You start like, again, we started from making specific art assets for a project to making full-fledged games ourselves. We started from optimizing code to making full-fledged games. We started by making like games on like doing the code while the client would give us the art assets. Now we're making games where the whole project was done in-house with our own artists, with our own developers, with our own designers, and with our own producers. Hi. And slowly, like, it like 10 years. It took us 10 years. Like, and yes, we grew like exponentially in those 10 years. Like, if you see Frag on day one, maybe you would be disheartened. कि अच्छा यही है. Like, it's again like one thing that everyone is saying, gotta have the passion, you gotta have the drive, and you gotta see the end goal. Bilal said something I really loved. He said that in the end you have to visualize the game ahead. It doesn't only apply to the project that you're working on right now, it applies to that passion project you're thinking about and what you need to do. Mind mapping your own company, mind mapping your own role. That's how it'll scale up. It's not impossible, it's just a tedious journey that will not be tedious if you're into it.
Yeah, it's probably the same journey with VR Play. Like it started with just only 4 people, and now over the years, I think started in 2010. Now it's 2023. So like it took 13 years to, you know, get to 200 employees now, and started making our own game. And if you look at the very starting projects of the studio, like Run Shida Run, I think some people are aware of that game. you won't see it as a commercial game probably. It's like if you see the monetization and everything, the game is very casual, like it's not actually aimed to be earning money or something like that. But it was loved by everyone and like it got over 1 million installs and everything that, but it was more of a hobby project that while working for the clients, everyone wanted to make their own game and they made it and they threw it out on the app stores and see like how it goes. But like when I looked at it, I was like, it's a very good game and like it has its own song and soundtrack and everything, but it was never really monetized, which is quite a loss. uh, Also, like a few other games, like I think the Lost Twins, the first one, it's also on the Play Store, not very monetized. Uh, and like uh, it was more like a hobby projects. No one ever, I think, thought about that they would actually make own games and actually start selling them. Or maybe like people didn't know how these things work because back when they were created, it was like 2014 and like probably just 4 or 5 studios in Pakistan that were making games. Uh, Usually this rush of studios, the hyper casual development started back in 2019 when the COVID came. Suddenly everyone realized, oh, gaming has money. And most of these people were not even developers or not even from a gaming background. They knew nothing about the industry and they just entered it for money and like diversifying their portfolios or something. It wasn't exactly for the gaming or the passion, due to which we also suffered a lot of I, I forgot the word, but like the industry had suffered a way behind rather than progressing. But it also kind of pushed, I guess, the other studios to work and make something because now we have a whole lot competition from this small hyper casuals literally opening up in every corner and street of the country. So like this is what happened, but scaling from start to what the companies are now, it took a long time and it cannot be achieved overnight.
Yeah, and that Explotens game, that is where I get to know VR Play. That really, you actually understood the VR Play as a studio understood how to monetize something, and that is how you actually thought of doing
Like
Explotens in
even for
Apple Arcade.
Explotons, it wasn't like Explotons wasn't something that was like made that yes we want to make it. It was a global game jam, I think, game.
Awesome.
Like I'm not sure about its background, but I think they made it during a global game jam back in like 2015 or 16, something like that. Oh, but I'm not sure if that actually was the case. But I have seen a few global game jam pictures with that game. So that's how it started, and maybe someone saw it or something happened, and luckily, like they did some applications, and over the time of years, they also have made a good network, and Apple noticed it, and it got into
Yeah.
Apple Arcade, and that's how it happened. But
That,
you see, like after the Apple Arcade happened in I think 2019 or 2018, something like that. So it took them almost 10 years. Like they started in 2010 and making games, doing all of those things, and now in like 2020, they are at that stage that they can probably invest some money into making their own game. So, like, if someone is expecting that on the day one they they will make a game and launch it, I think it's a bit of an unrealistic feeling. Like, especially that game dev does requires a lot of investment.
yeah,
It,
absolutely.
it's not
Uh,
uh,
I have noticed this
it's
thing
not
that
that free.
you guys separated Played You from VR Play, and Played You is now specifically products based and VR Play services based company. Is that right?
Yes, pretty much right. That wasn't really the aim though. Like we
Really?
because VR Play was VR Play was working on a lot of services thing,
Mm.
and actually it was my idea because I always come up with stupid and crazy ideas, making trouble for everyone. So I was like, we need to give an identity to something because no one recognizes VR Play as a game development thing. They're more like
Mm.
a services company. So like my boss was like, okay, let's choose a name So we chose a name, and when it was supposed to be a brand kind of thing, like it wasn't supposed to be a whole company. So like VR Play was the main company, and it has a brand called Playdew, which will launch games and stuff. But what happened at the when we started making the games and we recognized that, we probably cannot work as a brand. There were some issues, like obviously I cannot reveal everything, but eventually we were like, okay, we need a separate company for this. That's how things went. And Playdew merged as separate country. So like, like we wanted it to a solely game development thing. We didn't want it to be involved with services at all.
Yeah, no, I personally think that is a really good step, and I think for some any game studio who is only focusing on services right now and want to shift to making their own products, they should do some sort of division or maybe create a separate company out of that one company that is doing just services, right? In order to focus really on the product side of the things. Otherwise, it's just a shuffle: product, services, product, services. It's not clear. The vision sort of blurs out otherwise.
Yeah, you need to make sure you have your A team on one point that knows that they're doing their own IP when the company is ready. And if you're doing that, make sure you have like that little division. In लोगों को इधर नहीं लाना है at all.
And
That's
Exactly.
that
very
still
good.
happens because
Yeah.
ultimately we do share the same office. We sit in the literally same room. So it's not, like I would wish that we have a separate office from them. But ultimately we still work for those guys, and at this point we cannot afford a separate building even,
Yeah.
just for like a small team. So like yeah, mixing and stuff happens, but still, like, because it's a separate name now, it has much more power. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you can say that, okay, this company, this is the project of this, you need to focus on this first, and like at least we can say that we are people, and we will prioritize Playdew first rather than working on the other project. So a bit of focus comes from that.
Yep. Someone was asking, is it okay to leave steady and do game development? Sajjad, seriously? You did it with
So that's a very
Please
good
don't.
question, and I mean, you can do that if you have enough to back up your living, and you don't want to be homeless, then go. I mean, it will be very tough life if you do that. If you are ready for that, go ahead. But generally, it's not a good suggestion, and especially in a country like Pakistan, where your parents probably want you to become a doctor or engineer. Doing this for game development would become a very negative and a taboo thing.
I'll also like point out that like depends on what you mean by study. Like there are fields. There is something that'll give you a background some way or the other. So don't think that you have to like give up everything and like shift over here. Like, and especially study because listen, Pakistan, yeah, what Uruj said, it's something you have to be a little realistic about it. You can't be idealistic over here. Like
I mean,
so
even in Pakistan, you need
Why do you
a
even want to leave? Sorry.
sorry.
Why do you want
Uh,
to leave studying?
I
I mean,
wanted
school
to
and
just
college
tell
days are
them that
best life.
I
I wanted to
understand
tell
the
them
need study. Who wants to study, guys? Like, listen, we get it. Totally understand. किसी को पढ़ाई नहीं करनी. I don't want to go back to study.
we understand that, but
Also, पढ़ाई यहाँ भी होनी है. Like, there is पढ़ाई.
um,
There's a lot of पढ़ाई that you can never leave studying. You will never get out of it. So might as well just figure out the path of that study and work on that. You cannot leave studying. I am still
and
studying. I hate
you
studying.
cannot even work at McDonald's in Pakistan without a degree. You even need a degree to work there. So not a very good plan.
Yes, very true, very true. Like Bilal mentioned Game Train as well. It is a whole place that is giving you courses on game development, how to like go into like understanding development and like software work in terms of games. But even they ask like आपका computer का background है, आपकी computer की कोई degree है, do you have computer science or something? So like one way or the other, any form of education चाहिए, जरूरी है.
Yeah, definitely,
Please don't leave study.
definitely. Like, I just want to make it clear because there's a chat going on. But I get it. Like, I left my MBBS at third year, but that
Bilal, you
is
have a lot to answer for today.
yeah, that's for sure. But keep in mind that I was doing MBBS, right? And I was in third year. That's when I left at the end of it, and I did it after earning a lot of money and stuff from freelancing and making some sort of stance. It's not like I just left it because I was interested in it. I proved my point, and I was like, okay, this is working for me, so that means I can do it for long. Simple as that.
And again, like I understand if your family wants you to be a doctor, but वही वाली बात देखो, options doctor engineer है. Engineer के sides तुम निकल के computer में घुस सकते हो. There are ways. There are ways. Go into software engineering, like it's still engineer. You don't have to tell them it's software engineer. Be like, अब्बा मुझे engineer बनना है. They be like, चलो बेटा, सही है. Doctor नहीं तो engineer तो हो. I
Exactly.
hope I didn't sound like your
No,
dad.
no,
I'm sorry if I was mocking.
that is right. If for instance you are right now in pre-medical doing FSC or something, you should shift to engineering. It is not hard. That is the right point. If you are like in the middle of MBBS and asking for leaving the study, well, I can't help you with that for sure. I mean, it was very hard enough to help my own self.
And also, don't get
But
Bilal into trouble, guys. Like all of you be like, देखें एक Bilal है जिसने ये किया है तो मैं भी छोड़ रहा हूँ. Then all of your family will come to Bilal. Don't do that.
no, exactly. Please
Also,
don't
I
do
kind
that.
of agree with Bilal here that considering that your parents want to do you medical, you probably have to start some freelancing or something and prove them that this is a viable career, it can earn money, and probably then they will be a bit soft towards the side that yes, my
Exactly.
son has started earning and he will probably get a job and get married. It will give them a sense of security, and then
Yes.
you can definitely shift.
I mean, it was not just any sort of money. It was really good amount of money. Let me just clear that out. Like, it was good enough to to skip the private medical college, to leave the private medical college at the third year, at the end of the third year. So yeah, I mean, you gotta understand that it's not as simple as it sounds.
Yeah, but you can definitely start as a hobbyist. Like you can start with the YouTube tutorials, learning Unity and stuff. And later on, when you feel that you have a established skill level, you can try. You can also try for internships at game studios, if that works for you. Maybe on part time or short hours. Some studios are offering that. Try going to game jams as a start. They can help you a bit with learning the gaming industry, and maybe you will find someone from, like, not Pakistan, from outside, that will want you on your team, or as I think it would be a uh, good start for the career. But going full on, leaving your studies and wanted to make a game, I think is probably not a good or a wise choice at this point.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. On point. So, what advice would we give to, let's say, Sajad, who is saying something like leaving the studies and doing game development? Like, what advice is there? Is it just to shift to the engineering, right, and doing the game dev as a hobby? I think that is how I did. I mean, not the engineering side, but at least the hobby side of the things.
I would
Hey,
say
yeah, there are a lot of options,
freelancing.
I think.
Yeah, I agree with what Bilal said. I think that's a very, very nice, that's a really good starting point at least. Start with that, see where it takes you.
Can you please tell some game dev studio? I think GameStorm is in Karachi. You can probably look into that. Do you guys know any other studio in Karachi?
Uh,
Uh,
Honestly, I kind of get muddled on like what's in Karachi, what's in Lahore, what's in Islamabad a little bit. Like
Karachi में कुछ नहीं
knowing what
मिलेगा.
exactly where gets a little
You
confusing for
won't
me.
find anything in Karachi.
no, Karachi do have good studios, but I just don't know
Be
that.
an India in Karachi.
Uh,
Garena
what?
used to be in Karachi, but I think they left.
Karachi has Reality Forge.
Who
It's
used
not
to
a
be?
studio, but it's something, I guess, a training institute. Um, what else is in Karachi? Damn, I don't know. As an IGT Pakistan board, I should
Mindstorm,
be.
My goodness, what's where, right? Like मुझे भी वो हो रहा है कि वो उधर है किधर है.
Mindstorm पे वहाँ पे shows होते हैं. Like Mindstorm goes to IBA and universities to have some game
Yeah,
jams or
but I don't
stuff.
think they have a branch.
They don't have
What
a
will
different.
help you is
There's a Mindstorm and there's one called GameStorm. They're two
yeah,
different ones.
Mindstorm is in Lahore and GameStorm is
Yeah.
in Karachi. I think that's
Yes.
one of the storms is
Yes.
there, one of the
Exactly.
storms is there. Okay.
Yes.
Um, what will help you looking up studios and where they are will be believe it or not, LinkedIn is a really great place to know about gaming companies and where they are. I was not a huge believer of LinkedIn for the longest time because I was like, it's LinkedIn, but then it turned out to be one of the best places to find anything related to gaming opportunities and places. So I would suggest check that out. Check out on LinkedIn, like studios in Karachi. You will definitely find some really good ones.
Or a Google search could also. But for gaming industry, Discord, Twitter, and LinkedIn are the three
Mm,
platforms.
yeah.
Yeah, Discord first, definitely.
Everyone loves Discord. Like even although I am in more of a biz dev sales marketing role, even the CEOs and like of the top companies, I'm not talking about some small indie studio, they also prefer to talk on Discord rather than having like formal Zoom meetings or something. They were like, "Do you have a Discord? I prefer chatting to you on Discord or something."
Discord has a chill vibe, you know.
Yeah.
You can join
Yeah.
voice channels, you can do, like stages like that. I don't know, it's just good.
Also, like the emojis are very fun. Like
Mm.
other channels don't really have.
I will say this as an elder millennial, maneuvering around all these new networks was difficult because I was like, I just figured out Insta guys like इतनी मुश्किल से तो मैंने Instagram समझा अब ये सब भी आ गया है like it's hard like especially if you're new on all of these platforms but like if you genuinely give the time to them you'll be surprised at all the stuff that shows up. And Rakeen, to your
I
point about
agree.
Slack over Discord, Slack is a channel that people use, but it is usually more for like a whole formed studio itself. What Bilal and Aruj are talking about is like being on Discord and being on wider channels
It's more about
where
networking, like
exactly
Discord.
it's a more casual vibe, and in that casual vibe you network. In Slack you work. So like your
Yes,
goal
definitely.
on Discord
Slack
is to
is
find a
for
place
studios.
to Slack have joined you.
Slack is more like a business management, like people management software.
Yep, yep.
That goes
Uh,
into like the work of a company or a studio. Like you'll be on
yeah.
Discord, you'll find a place, you'll get to that place, you'll be on their Slack. That's the step.
Yeah, that's how it is. Even the frag is on Skype. Not Slack, but Skype, yeah. So I guess Skype and Slack are the two places for work professionals.
Hmm.
Slack is more of like a journal platform. Like it's not even related to game dev. Like overall in the industry, Slack is used by many offices. Like it's the basic business
Yeah,
software where you connect whole of the team.
Yeah,
true.
exactly. Like if anyone wants to grow, if we're talking about networking, if anyone wants to grow as a game dev, I would suggest doing all sorts of activities like sharing stuff on social media, make small stuff, share it on social media, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on even Discord, talk to people, and that's how I did it. And I was able to grow out of my, let's say hut, out of my little hut in the corner where my eyes are always stick on the screen and developing games all the time. No, that's not how you grow. I mean, that is something that you have to do to develop games, but if you really want to do it for long, connect with other people and share your stuff.
Yeah, and like piggybacking off what Bilal said, if any of you are concerned about the imposter syndrome you have, everybody has it. Everyone's new. Everyone who's been in here for a while is learning the next step. Dekho, there was a point where people were aiming to make a game on the PS4. Now they're working on the PS5. Like technology will keep evolving and there will always be something to learn and you will always feel like you don't know things. That should not stop you from celebrating your achievement, that and celebrating it by being vocal. You should not, like, if you've made your first game and it's just a block that was able to jump a few hurdles, you did that. You did that, learning it on your own, doing it from your own journey, and you should celebrate it. And you should be vocal about it. If you think कि like, oh मैं ये नहीं share कर रहा क्योंकि Minecraft तो नहीं है ना ये, that will that'll be your own hindrance. You will never be good enough. But when you put your little block jumping over a hurdle, there will be 1,000 people who will see that this guy learned it from nothing and now is able to make this feature work. Move forward, jump. Those are features. You will learn that. Slowly and gradually, you'll be able to make it fly, you'll be able to make it shoot fireballs, etc., etc. Every single step that you've learned, every single time you have been like, oh, मैं बहुत वक्त से फंसा हुआ था, and now I've been able to get this out. You need to celebrate it. You need to be vocal, and you need to get that out of your head that somebody's going to be like, oh, that's no big deal. Like, no, no. Listen, there are trolls everywhere. There will be people who will be like, there's no big deal, and they will bring you down. But there will be, for every single troll, there will be at least 50 people who are going to be like, damn, okay, this guy really spent time and he figured out how to do it. Amazing. That growth is what people want to look at. That's what they want to look at, because that shows your attitude, that shows your drive, that shows your passion and willing to learn.
I can give you.
Talking about the imposter
Yeah, yeah,
syndrome,
yeah.
I think like the more you know, the more you feel it that I don't do anything. Like I personally experienced that myself, that the more I start to learn about things, I'm like, there's a whole lot world that I totally don't know about, and there's a lot to learn still, and it kind of grows on you that, oh my God, I don't know anything. I'm just sitting here and pretending that I know stuff, but I really don't.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
how it
have like
is.
the problematic advice for anyone with imposter syndrome, which
Yeah, the
is,
learning curve never levels out.
yeah, you
It
have to
just
keep,
keeps on growing and growing,
yeah,
growing, growing.
yeah. And like for those people with imposter syndrome, I'll let you know, it'll never go away. That voice will be there in the back of your mind. Every time you will feel genuinely you have achieved this step and you will be happy about it, there will be a voice in the back of your mind telling you it's not a big deal. And that's something that is a personal struggle that, like, I can tell you from any industry, any field, any career, there are people who are there just being like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And if I managed to make something work, it was luck. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't work hard, blah, blah, blah. Like, these voices will always be there. And you have to fight against it. And my most problematic advice, it's very problematic. I'm not proud of it, but it's just turn your imposter syndrome into con man simplex.
I
Be
mean,
like,
some level of a imposter system is also healthy because it keeps you to learn new stuff and not get stuck in the ways that you also don't want to be a know-it-all person, right? You want to keep learning. But one
yeah,
advice I would be like, the moment when you start feeling the imposter syndrome, it's probably the point where you have done something right. So be proud of your achievement that yes, I have done something, but I still have to learn more and I will make
yeah,
better things in the future.
exactly. And don't let that stop you from being vocal. In this industry, again, we've spoken about it. It is a very difficult industry to get into in general, globally. You need to understand that it is a huge industry with like thousands of people applying every single day. Obviously, you're always going to be in competition. So in all of that, what really helps is you being vocal. Like when people see, like, oh yeah, I did this and it was really hard, but now I know what to do next time, and for the next time I'm also aiming for this, etc., etc., etc. It's like, you have to be vocal because you need to make yourself visible. Being visible is a huge factor here in a place where like there are thousands of people trying to get in.
Yeah,
Especially like as Aruj said, and as it was mentioned in the questions as well, so many people are not even treating this industry as a passion project or something that they love. There are a lot of people here just to make money. There are a lot of studios here are all around the world that are just there like they want to mint money out of it. Oh, it is hot, so let's just get as much out of it as we can. So in an industry where you are the passionate one, the passionate person always struggles a bit. They always struggle. That's my dopamine that has to just draw on whatever is available, snatch it away from you. You will have a journey, and that struggle will only be 10 times harder if you're being 1,000 times harder on yourself. So you have to make sure that you're constantly like being there,
Yeah,
making in their company, even if you're somebody new, even if you are trying really hard, you are still so visible that people are maybe rooting for you to get to the point that they can hire you. That happens.
that happens. We also have a comment. My first game I ever made, I didn't release it because I thought this is just worse Minecraft. I think this after this talk, maybe you should release it and we should check
Yes,
it out. If you
release
have
it.
made it, then why not
And
release it? Just let it
yes,
go, let people
and,
see.
and don't be shy to share that you didn't release it for the longest time because you thought it wasn't good enough. Say it. Doesn't hurt to say it. You don't have to be like, you don't have to mask anything. You don't have to be like, oh, I made this and it's amazing and blah blah blah. You're not here for that. You're not a marketing engineer who's selling the product for the max of it. You're here to sell yourself. And it doesn't
Also,
hurt to
like
share that I didn't sell it for the longest time
you
because
said
it
that
was
you are looking for an internship. If you go with that game to the interview, I think you show them that
yes,
I made this. They will. I think anyone will be like right away want to give you an internship. That this person actually knows better than a fresh graduate that I'm hiring.
exactly, because you made a game. Doesn't matter if it's bad, you made a game, which means you know how games work. Not just how a software works, not just how the engineering pipeline works. You know how a game works. You know what you need to do for a jump. You know what you need to do for these features. So anytime there'll be a long-term game, your input will be so valuable because of it. Celebrate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always celebrate your achievements, guys.
Yep.
She says while being really harsh on herself.
Look, I have a very an amazing example. His name is Bilawal Talpur. He did something different. Like he was doing MBBS and he did the MBBS and he's a doctor and doing the doctorate while doing this, doctor profession that he's doing. He was also developing his own game part time, and he was sharing his work in progress game in the form of videos every other week, right? He didn't skip a single week, as far as I know. And I'm inspired by this guy, right? And one day, he was actually developing a Commandos inspired game. And one day, believe me or not, the Claymore Studios, the original developers of Commandos, reached out to that guy, Bilawal Talpur, right? And they were asking him to join their team, right? But of course, he rejected because he believed in his project. He's still working on it. It's called Red Glare.
Also,
Uh,
from this story, I also want to, tell that how I joined VR Play. I used to follow VR Play when it was making the game Lost Winds 2.
yeah.
And, I followed them and I, constantly commenting and doing all this kind of stuff. And one day the CEO contacted me. Do you want to work
Exactly.
on our project? I was like, of course, duh, like call me in. So, passion sometimes works out for you. Like, just
Yes.
show people that you are ready to show up. You want to work on this, and you have a drive. Not like there are people who just like casually going on. You know that attitude from like especially the students who are like, I have submitted my CV and now someone should give me a 1 lakh offer to a job. That doesn't really happen. You have to show some drive.
Yep. I mean, you didn't did any CV sort of thing. You didn't send the CV or resume. The CEO just asked you straight up, right? And
No,
that
not
is
at all. Like because I was already working in the gaming, and I have shared like what things I have working on my profile already, and I was showing interest in their game. So like they reached out that yes, we have seen your work, and we kind of have a similar role that we are looking for. So if you want to join us, like it was like obviously we did interviews and stuff, but I never had to send my CV.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same happened with Frag. I just met Ali Bhai, Ali Ihsan, CEO of Frag. Thanks to IGDA Pakistan again, IGDA Pakistan, and that is how he be like, you're a good game designer. Join us, and I was like, huh? What really? I mean, I call myself programming everywhere. I call myself programmer, like I'm a programmer. But he's like, I think you are a game designer. I was like, okay, let's try it out. So that's how it is
And
for
you
me.
are like, oh, if you say so, then I'm a game designer.
Yeah, design is fine.
Yep.
Very interesting thing for me is that people still don't know what I do. Like even in my company, when I go and I'm sitting and then suddenly a developer comes and like, अरुज यार आप करती क्या है एक्चुअली आप इधर होती हैं सारा दिन बैठी हो लेकिन आप करती क्या है मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है तो आपका रोल क्या है?"
Are you tempted to just be like vibes, guys? Vibes.
And I was like, I don't know myself what my role is because it's so vast at this point that like we don't usually have management people, so like everything that comes, it usually comes to us. I think you probably are familiar with that. कि हम almost अपने role से outside चीजें भी handle कर रहे होते हैं, just because there is no one else to handle that kind of stuff. So it usually comes down to that. They're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "What do you want me to tell you about today?" Because there's a lot of roles that I'm doing, or sometimes I'm just tired of this question and I'm telling them that I'm here because I'm ladies.
Ladies in Games ambassador.
Yeah. Although like not a very good answer, but sometimes you get tired of the same question every day. That what do you do?
Damn.
Like, I do witchcraft, okay? Can we just move on? It's like, next question.
Yeah, like obviously because mine is a very marketing role, and they're like, "अच्छा games की marketing कैसे करते हैं फिर?" So like, and then I'm like, "Yeah, okay, if I tell you everything, then who will do my job?"
Yeah, exactly. Marketing is such a tough field. I'm learning marketing nowadays, trying my best to learn it, and it's so hard to understand people's mindset, why they like a certain game, why they don't like a certain game.
Definitely.
Uh,
And
it's a whole mess.
usually people come to us and they want like a one word solution to their problem, like why my game is not selling or how do I sell my game. There is no one word answer to this. And then like I have seen a lot of like we hire marketers, but they cannot solve our problem. Like it's not an easy thing to solve. We ourselves need to analyze your product for some time before we can give you some answers. It's not something that I can tell you right away.
Yeah, exactly. Um, on point. Uh, so yeah, there's some chat
So
going on.
moving into the final 20
Yeah,
minutes.
let's go.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight, that we are into the final 20 minutes of the session. So if anyone needs to ask anything, or anyone needs a CV review, or ask about how they can enter the industry, this is your time.
This is your time. We are all ears. I mean, all eyes is because it's a chat. I get it, but there will be a learning
I mean,
curve
they
in
can
this.
they can always raise their hand and join us in the speakers
Yeah,
panel.
that would be great.
You're welcome to join.
Yeah, and now is the
I
time
see a
anyone can join.
question. Yeah, I see a question. Which engine is good for new one, Unity or Unreal? Bilal,
Oh,
take this one,
come
I
on.
guess.
That's such a bad question. Okay, I will.
I would say Unity. Unreal is more of a professional as far as I know. Like, what do you say, Bilal?
You're
Um,
a newbie.
I say if you are very much visuals, if you're very much into visuals, go for Unreal. Seriously, like there's no question there. If you are into visuals, but if you like mechanics a lot, if you are into mechanics like me, go into Unity. It's really that simple because Unity is a strong mechanical engine. Like you can create great mechanics without much issues in Unity as compared to in Unreal where it's a troublesome thing to go for, right? But when it comes to visuals, it's really hard to get good visuals in Unity, whereas in Unreal you can just have good visuals without much effort. Seriously. So that's what I think of. But as far as the performance of the computer is concerned, whether your PC is good or not, if your PC is bad, go for Godot, please. Godot is another game engine. Yeah, I have added another game engine in this list. Wow. um, and if your PC is like moderately good, you can uh, go for Unity as well. But if your PC is really good, like you have RTX graphic card on your let's say PC, then please go ahead, and you like visuals as well, then please go ahead and use Unreal. Seriously. That means Bilal loves Unity? No, I don't love Unity. I don't love any tool. I'm not tool specific. Seriously, I say it all the time. Um, I mean, I can use any tool. I can use Unreal. I can use Godot.
Unity,
Seriously, it
it's
doesn't
not
matter.
like we love Unity, but Unity is generally easier for newbies, and also like support is much easily available. क्योंकि Unreal का बंदा आपको नहीं मिलेगा पाकिस्तान में. एक मुश्किल से एक दो होंगे, and then you will be crying your eyes out that I'm stuck on this thing. How do I get out? So that's why like starting as a beginner on Unity is much easier. But if you want to start on Unreal, I think Reality Forge is offering some
Yep.
courses. Maybe
Yes.
they might be a huge help.
Yes, definitely. Like again, same thing. If you like visuals, again, it depends on your objective. If you are like, want to make some very visually fantastic game or prototype, please go and use Unreal. Seriously. Unity is not good at it. I mean, it is good at it as well, but you have to put some effort into making it look good in Unity. Whereas in Unreal, it's not much of an effort because of tools like Lumin or Nanite. Um, yeah, that's how I think about it. And also Unity has those long bars. Whenever you write some little code, you have to wait like 10 to 20 seconds, which is annoying. So if you don't like waiting for the results, you don't like those loading bars, then I would suggest again going for Godot, or maybe even go for Construct, or JavaScript, maybe some other. There are lots of tools. So
Okay.
don't really be too
We have a
involved.
CV, guys. So what do you
Oh
think?
yes,
Like,
there you go. First CV.
maybe we can share on the screen and
No, actually we can't. I don't think there's the option. There is the
yeah,
option. Okay, okay,
there's
good,
no.
good.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
you can
know.
share screen. You can.
When did they added this option on stage? Because last time I see there were no such options on in this stage. Good, good. That's good actually. Nice. Let me just see. There you go.
I think I would let Bilal handle this.
No, no,
Like
I have
as
done.
a C,
I have done.
as a CEO, and see what he says. Like, would you hire this person, or what?
Oh,
What
acha.
improvements, or what you would suggest for them?
Okay. Well, first of all,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any game dev associated tools in the skills. That's a big no. I don't know why there's none, because again, as a game studio, I would like to see that here. So that's a problem. But there is a QA which is good, and fast. Okay, fast. That is a big plus. This university is a big plus always. Gaming, game creation, rendering, documentaries, Unity experimenting, Figma experimenting. Uh, I think you shouldn't write this experimenting word. It doesn't feel good. I don't know. I'm not getting good vibes when I see this. I mean, I get it. Experimenting is good. I love experimenting, but um, I don't think you should write. If that is the case, how about you should write reading experimentation or gaming experimentation? Just remove experimenting. I don't know. It feels weird. Um, I'm a passionate, ambitious. Make it shorter. Make it shorter. Seriously.
Too long.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
we don't have enough time to read all those sentences. I mean, we can use ChatGPT uh, nowadays and then shorten it
Yes.
via that. Seriously. Um, Work experience, play to earn, city 2022 to present, organizational role within the company. Okay.
Maybe describe a bit what you did, because organizational role within the company doesn't really tell
Yeah.
what you did in that role. You worked on Web3 games, but which specific games, what you did in that game, what was your role in that game?
Yeah. It's not
Maybe describe
specific.
a bit more.
Yeah. It's not like I'm not getting the thing. You can say.
Could
Uh,
Bilal, could you scroll up for just a second? I just want to see the top again.
oh, top. Okay. Yeah.
Just for a second.
Here next to.
Okay, go down now. All right.
Okay.
This was my thing. Your profile already just says student, your next employee. That's fine. You're at the moment a student, but in the first go immediately, I cannot tell what it is for, because again, there's a huge profile that I have to read through, which
Hmm.
also has a few tiny typos, by the way. That's the editor in me from journalist days pointing it out. Um, so, and then, until I come to skills, I can't, like I have to see the name, the student profile, even work experience. No, I have to go left and see the skills to understand what your background is.
Yep.
In work experience, you have your bullet points, but your bullet points need to be really strict and concise to the work that you want to pitch yourself for. If you're going for development, okay, fine. You don't have specific game development skills. That's totally fine. But if you have development skills, talk about those. Like in your bulk image watermark, you've mentioned creation of desktop app using Java technology. That is a really good point.
Okay. There.
That shows like something that you've worked.
Um.
I think we got some disconnection,
Okay. Okay. I thought my
maybe.
internet get disconnected. Good. Good.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can continue, but like just as Sonia was saying that there you have mentioned that you worked with Java and like the employer knows that, okay, you have this skill. So mention a bit about what specifically you did there and how you
Is
did it.
what's going to work. I'm sorry, what?
You got
Oh, yeah,
disconnected.
you got disconnected.
Oh, oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? I have no idea which part I was broken down in. But my point was just like, like smoosh it up a bit
Yep.
and make sure to point out the technicalities of the job that you were working on, which can show your experience on the skills that you've mentioned.
Yeah, on point. Like, I'm not even sure what to give him. Like, if I look at this CV,
Hmm.
I'm not even sure what's the role. Like, what role should I give it to
Yeah,
him? Because
maybe
it's
Exactly.
very
in the profile you
confusing.
can say that I'm looking for this role because
Yeah.
it talks a lot about that I'm passionate about game development and everything, but you are not telling that what you want to
Yeah.
get into. I mean, you can say that I'm highly interested in, but you have to narrow down to one field
Yep.
because
Yeah.
probably we cannot give you UX designing and everything,
Yeah.
but you need to focus that what you want. Maybe if you are looking into all of these things, maybe make four separate CVs for these four
Yeah.
separate roles instead of going a journalistic
Exactly.
CV.
Exactly. Like you should never have a vague CV that shows all your skill set. It is very hard and it's very tempting. Again, like take it from somebody who has to have three different career shifts. Like in order to explain my journey, like because I've been a working professional for 10 years, but none of that counts when I'm going into like the next production level. So for that I have to make sure that even when I write about being a sub editor at Dawn, I make sure to talk about my managerial aspects over there. I don't talk about the fact that I was writing the articles and I was doing the social media. Yes, I was doing a lot of things over there that did help me as a person, but they will not help, like they will not be able to prove my skills for the job I'm looking for. So I need to make sure that I tailor that I had a team under me that I was managing. There were pipelines that I was managing, because that's the stuff that you want from your producer. So if you have four different skill sets that you're willing to like go into, like obviously you're a student, you can like easily take on something and specialize later. You need to make sure your CV is still specialized. It needs to be able to pinpoint the skills related to the position that you're looking for. It बहुत tedious होता है. It's very very annoying to work on, but that's the best way to go about it. Like your first line is, I'm a passionate and ambitious student with a strong interest in the tech industry. No sign of gaming.
Yeah,
First
exactly.
line, no sign of gaming. And also, you're still referring to yourself as a student. This is a resume. Yes, currently you're a student. You can mention that in like a third sentence, that currently a student. I am working on software and my specialty lies in full stack development and game development, etc. Like you're like no need to write a huge essay. Usually the profile section is supposed to be a summary of your experience.
Yep.
That I read that and then I look at the bullet points of your work experience and the expansion.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think it's not a bad, it's a good CV for starters. Like someone who
Good format.
probably doesn't have a guide how to make a CV.
Yes.
It's good
Yeah.
for a starting position.
Yeah. By the way, disclaimer, I hope it doesn't sound like we're being too harsh on you. We're just like making sure we give you all the facts and like letting you know what can be better and improved. I hope that this isn't offensive.
Yeah, I mean
I think
these.
we can probably move on to the next because we are a bit short on time.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
just want to say this is the only part where I was like, okay, he develops games.
Yeah,
Just want
because
to.
this one is just like you figured out a way to do this, you figured out this, you had a desktop game. Like, hello. This is the one that you should expand on just a little bit to show your experience.
Yep,
Whatever requires more experience, expand on that.
exactly one point. Okay, let's move to the next CV. Do we have the next CV? Okay, Bobby has shared one. I think okay.
We
Zan
have
Hisam.
Asad.
Zan Hisam shared it. I'm not sure if he wants us to go through it, but we are still gonna
I
open
think
it.
suddenly everyone has shared it.
Oh, cool, cool. So this is
Can you
Nice hair,
zoom
man.
in a bit?
yeah, sure. There you go.
Very
Oh yeah.
nice hair.
Narrative designer. Okay, very nice.
Ooh, very nice.
Okay, that's the CV of a professional. I mean, it's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bullet points here, very, very specific. Sharing your tasks.
Concepted and prototype for.
Good profile as well.
And they're just like games, which is good. Like he just outright mentioned the games. I guess that's cool. I mean, I personally like that someone just shares his projects straight on.
Yeah, this is like
And
a proper
are you from
portfolio.
Netherlands? It seems like you are
Yeah.
because uh,
Yep.
Hello there, sir.
Breda,
we are so
Netherlands.
sorry about that we shifted languages because I wasn't sure if we have any international attendees, but it's
Languages say
great.
Urdu, they're
Your
native.
CV looks
It says
awesome.
Urdu. It says Urdu. Bach ke.
No, native Urdu, bro. Native Pakistan, bro. Come on.
Yep.
Oh, okay. But yeah, like Netherlands has I think, a huge game dev scene, at least much better
Oh
than our
yeah.
local one.
Yeah, he started there only. And there you go, the tool, all the tools, the logos of it. I don't even need to read it. I can just see it.
Yeah.
Great. Employment history. Okay, I guess that part could be improved maybe. Yeah, that's the boring part, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah. Like a bullet point, like just a rule of thumb, don't let your bullet point go into 4 lines.
Yeah.
Like max 3, but like strict and concise. Make sure that it only goes long just to explain a specific angle.
More like your CV should be one pager, and one bullet point should not go more than one line, maybe 2 lines, but the rest of the talking you need to do in the interview. Don't write everything on the CV.
Yep. Totally. Same goes here and same goes here, I guess. Still
Yeah.
amazing, amazing
This is the part that
resume, I would
I
say.
would recommend. Yeah, overall a really really nice like if I was looking into resumes, this would definitely get my attention.
Definitely.
But I would skim over these points, you know?
Yeah, same.
Like this sentence you have over here, managed QA and conducted internal play tests.
Yep.
This is a really good bullet. This is how you need to treat all the other points. Like player churn was analyzed for each title with problem ideas identified and iterated on. Nah, no need to say all of that. Various analytic tools, worked on the retention, any identified problems,
Yep.
snip snap.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I would just see this thing, the top this thing, click developer, producer, maybe a little bit of
Mhm.
here. I would skim over that, but I will see this. Okay, he's a producer, 2013 to 2016. That is the kind of detail I like to see, and I think because again, it shows that he is being consistent doing the things. Um, 2012 to 2013, 2013 to 2016, and I would also notice the gaps basically. It's March. It ended on March and then it started again on April. So that means it's good. Um, it started on April, I guess 3 months gap, and then 2019 till I think that is amazing. Like the history is really good. It's just that it should be concise to one single page. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Awesome.
Um, because we actually don't have
We
enough
have
time.
one more,
Yep.
and we have 2 minutes. I think we can talk a bit more to cover them.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And there, ooh, whoa, okay, that's a document.
So the first thing
Mm,
I would say, of a bit of
don't be
formatting
shy of
would be
your
really
name, bro.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be shy of your own name. Shoving it up there, all tiny fonted up there.
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. It
Oh,
seems
Asad.
like you're trying to hide your name.
He's like, oh, I'm Asad, here's my work. No, no, you're Asad.
Okay.
Or maybe you just created this special version for us, so your name doesn't, go
Mm.
out to everyone. That's also okay. But if you are doing it in real life, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, bullet points are fine. It's just that there's like a formatting. Yeah, the
There's
formatting
some
should be
sentences,
improved.
yeah, yeah. Like even in this one, it's like I evaluate new tools that we need to solve a particular need.
Yeah,
Like you don't need to have like a whole statement.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
The main goal of a resume is to communicate your skills. Communication does not mean your linguistics and language need to be on point on that term. Like it's okay if it's a very strict, concise sentence that has the blue squiggly underline from Word doc. That's fine.
Yep.
You
because you're being
see of a
techy.
small indie studio that sounds good.
Yeah.
That it sounds that you are able to make a team and you were able to sustain it.
That's the
But
kind of thing
we
you
are
should add
not
in your
sure that
profile.
okay, you're still working there. That's awesome. Also in the CV, you don't need to write I did
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
more of a
Understand that.
bullet thing where you write to the point,
Yeah.
like
Like your last
uh,
point is like
yeah,
handle budget and schedule of our projects. If you remove R and be like of various projects or all projects, this is exactly how a bullet point should be.
Totally
yes,
agreed.
Like
Yeah.
not even handle, in fact, just be like budgeting and scheduling of all projects. See?
Yep.
Simple. 1 point.
I mean,
Gets the job done.
he did it right
You need to know.
in the next points, like here,
Yes.
right?
yes, that's much better.
Yep. And again, Asad Chaudhary in the middle, like this.
Love
Definitely.
yourself, bro. Be confident.
Yeah, but I would say you need a bit of formatting, the spacing and
Yep.
Mhm.
highlights and stuff that need to be managed because it
Yeah.
looks like a one long essay, which
Yes.
makes
Yeah.
it a bit hard to
Probably
read.
you can see throughout these
Just
paragraphs
look at
after every
that.
single company like created a paragraph. This.
Uh,
Hmm.
dang it.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna read it. No matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep in mind, like, if you are applying somewhere, this CV is going to be in a huge pile, and we're going to be like quickly sifting them out. So we need to be like able to be like da 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 da, scan, 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 scan. If it's this much writing, it'll make it harder for us to scan. We're not going to
Yes.
immediately reject you. We're not mean, but it'll definitely go in the bottom of the pile. Like you have
Yeah.
lost our interest already.
It's
So it's
not
like
that people are
we'll be like,
bad at stuff because there are some really good people who just don't know how to showcase their skills
exactly,
and their
exactly.
CVs end up in the dustbin. That's really sad.
Yeah. Or at least
But
bottom of
also
the pile. It's
HR
like,
doesn't
okay,
have
hold on.
that much time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's like,
आपको
let me
एक
get free cup
पोजीशन
of
के
coffee
ऊपर
before
आपके
opening it.
पास I don't know, like you get thousands of CVs for just one position. It's just 2 seconds to skim through and see, okay, shortlist this one, this one,
Yeah.
this one. They don't have time to read. और जो shortlist होती है वो फिर थोड़ी डिटेल में read की जाती है. But at first look, your CV should appeal.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's going to end up in a separate space.
Yep. Essay. Yeah. And I guess it's similar throughout. And there are lots of pages. Oh my god. There you go. It's ended here. And that is perhaps the best part of the CV here, as you can see.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the more established part. Like that's
Redesigned
how
website
the
for
CV should
everybody.
maybe
Yeah.
look like. We have another question. I'm afraid to add Unity as a skill because I don't have enough experience to call it to call it a skill. What is the threshold to consider it a skill? Uh, I
That's
think you
something
can
you can
add
add in
it.
your profile. That's something you can also add in your profile. When you keep it short and say that your expertise lies in game development, I am also improving my skills on Unity.
Yeah. Let
Yeah, and
me.
they probably will ask you questions about your skills
Yeah.
when they call
Yeah,
you
so
for
put
an
it in
interview.
skills. It's on the
इस तरह
side.
नहीं होता कि
Yeah.
वो like they will know how much skills you have.
Yeah. And again, that's
So
also, again, remember, that's the imposter
putting
syndrome
it in as
talking.
a I would say putting it on your CV is a plus point because if they're hiring a Unity dev, they might it will give you a preference in the selection process. वो अलग बात है कि बाद में आप qualify करते हुए नहीं. But if you know even a bit, put it there. Yeah, everyone lies a bit on their CV.
Embellishing.
Yep.
Yeah, just put it in the skill. Again, remember, this is the imposter syndrome talking. I don't know how much you know right now, but you already know enough to say that you're learning it.
Yep.
Put it in. In a conversation, you can share at least the things you can achieve once you hit that interview stage.
Yeah, same here. Even I remember that I'd simply added Unreal in my CV back in those days when I haven't touched Unreal. I guess I have seen some YouTube videos and I was like, okay, I know a little bit of Unreal. Come on. And I added it anyways.
Then we have Wajiha's CV. Like Wajiha is a very excellent design and stuff, but one thing I have a problem with one thing because it's too visual, and
I am vibing
actually
though.
I don't see
Like, this is making me wanna, like, I don't know, play Bloodborne right now.
it's not even letting me see it. Wajiha, it's saying I need to sign in, which if I was a if I was a hirer, I would probably won't sign it, and I would be like, okay, just leave this person.
I'm guessing she download and
Don't
send
be
it.
don't make people make effort to open your CVs, please. Send it in a very easy format that's easily openable. Otherwise, they won't put so much effort because there are a lot of people sending out CVs and imagine हर एक बंदे की CV पे sign in करके खोलना हो, it's not very applicable.
Well, usually, like, I think a PDF or a Word doc are the best options. I personally do prefer a PDF over a Word doc.
Definitely
It's
PDF
more
because
controllable.
Same.
वर्ड डॉक में ये होता है जब आप इनेबल एडिटिंग करते हो या कुछ करते हो एवरीथिंग गोज आउट इनटू अनदर स्पेस
Yep.
the format doesn't remain there like
Yeah,
words are flying images are going into another planet
yeah.
so PDF
And
is the
I
best.
know a few people who have struggled with like a Word doc file simply because of this. Okay, like exporting that file, something or the other went really awry, and then you just couldn't like whoever's reading on the other end, you don't even know what they've received until you open the file and you're like, oh no, all the space is gone between words. Like,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
like obviously, but yeah, I'm fairly certain that like your sign-in thing, like obviously I'm sure you're downloading it and sending it to people rather than like what like this is obviously for this session only. But
Yeah.
I won't lie, like your resume definitely got my attention. I'm like, what is this quest you're speaking of?
yep. And there are some people who
It
also send
definitely
PNG
looks
files
good.
for, yeah,
Matlab,
it looks
it
good.
looks like lot of visuals looks good, but again, probably from a manager's or a HR point of view, it did get my attention, but there is not much of detail about the skills. I would say like yes, very visual, but हम जो पुराने लोग होते हैं ना स्पेशली एचआर मैनेजर्स वगैरह उनको लिखी हुई चीज ज्यादा पसंद होती है मतलब अटेंशन गेन कर लेगी बट उससे आगे जाने वाला like we will look at it we will like okay this is but then it goes to the other file. That's a bit of an issue here, but otherwise it looks good. I appreciate your design skills, but the thing is that not very much explaining what you actually did there.
Yep, yep. By the way, there are some people who also share PNGs for the resume, and PNG is also bad because we can't copy stuff from here to click links. So yeah, PDF all the way.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, it makes
Maybe
sense.
maybe for
What's your experience
designer
for?
roles, I guess.
Took me years to
For
Google.
Yeah, I mean,
2D
obviously, it depends
artists
on the
वगैरह.
job. Yeah, it depends on the job. Like, she's a game designer, so it definitely makes sense that you'll have like something like this. This is your first impression very easily.
Yep.
Yes, artists
This
वगैरह
is
के
your
लिए I would say visual CVs work better because you know it kind of shows their skills also.
Yeah, but like what Vijay is saying right now, that's something I'll advise for everyone. Have various versions of your resume, not just tailoring to different skills, tailoring to different types. If you're going for a very fun indie company that has like a great office environment and they're making games that are really lighthearted and stuff, go for the visual one. If you're going for something that's a little more corporate, like an IT sector based game section, you'll want a more professional one. Different things, different types.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
as simple as
Um,
like the way you
Exactly.
conduct yourself in different gatherings,
they
right?
know your target audience.
Yeah,
Like
you're
they know
you're
your
different
target
at your
audience.
hala space and you're different with your best friend, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it was a really good discussion. We have run over time. So
Yes. A really
I
amazing
mean, I'm
discussion.
all up for for ending it unless someone has any questions, and we should probably all go and enjoy, have our dinners,
Go on
and
ahead.
have a good
Last
day.
5 minutes. Anyone have questions? Anyone has something to say? Now's the time. 5 minutes more. Okay. Maybe less than five. I'm not sure. But if someone has questions, go on ahead. Ask.
Let's
Uh,
end it at 7:15.
yeah. Let's end it at 7:15. Perfect. Um, Otherwise, I can go on and talk about other stuff. Right. No problem.
I mean, I can go on talking all day and night, but
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I need to respect people's time.
Okay, so I totally realize that we have a feedback form, and I'm gonna share it with you all. I'm gonna share it on general chat so that everyone can have that, and then share the valuable feedback along with some questions that I've shared in regards to again navigate a network, just so we can help others as much as possible. Let me just look into that
Yeah.
link.
Also, like, let us know how did you like the session, and
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you would like more such sessions to be held,
yeah, definitely.
because it's always depends on the feedback. Yeah, अगर community चाहती है तो ही events होंगे. If you guys don't show up, like officially I had 30 attendees registered for this event, but only 6 or 7 showed up in the audience.
That is very common, actually. You know, just saying. I
Yeah, like
mean,
I just received the full list and I was like, oh my God, there's so many people I wasn't expecting, but well, I wasn't even expecting one, but at least six showed up.
But this was great. Also, Uruj, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. And to the people who showed up, I hope we could like shed
I
some light on whatever
actually
questions you had.
I have a question for you, Sonia, because like I also want to, be a part of the Asia chapter. So tell me how do I get there?
Well, I'm here right now. Like, I mean, I would love it. Like, and also for all the women here. As I mentioned, I am the community manager for the Women in Games Asia chapter. I am in the leadership team, and we do different events and small time sessions. If anyone's interested, I host a session for Women in Games Asia once a month. It's called W Coffee. Anyone who's interested, please feel free to get on the LinkedIn page. We will be sharing our next session soon, and you guys can join.
all right, all right.
I'm definitely coming. I think there's also another session, but maybe it's ambassadors only. I'm not sure, but I did see there
Yeah,
was
yeah.
another event coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, small things always keep happening. And especially because like obviously we are still an expansion of women in games. So anything that's happening in women in games.
Also, I want to say that Women in Games is not only for women, like male allies and supporters can also join Women in Games platform.
Yeah, but you better prove
As
your
long
support.
as as long as you support
Better
Women
prove
in
your
Games, you
support,
can
though.
join.
We will find out if you're faking it first. And
Yeah, we
in
will find
general,
you and we will pick you out.
Okay, Sajjad has a
And in
question.
general, anyone wants any advice or wants to know more about the Asia chapter, anything, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. I am available and would love to help anyone, however. And Vijaya same goes for you.
How
Hit me
can
up.
I join? So,
I will share
Vijaya, for
W
joining
Coffee.
as a ambassador, you have to go to the Women in Games website. There will be a ambassador program, and go there, click on the join as individual ambassador, put in your information, and you will receive an email within some months. We do it quarterly, like quarterly
Yeah.
acceptance of people. So after some months, if you apply now, you probably will receive an email in April if you are lucky, or maybe in June if you are late. Then it goes to the other quarter, I guess.
Yeah, go for it. Just look up women in games. It's a very huge thing. So sure. Oh, I see Discords and stuff. But yeah, cool. Great being here.
Yeah, like
I
Yeah.
will make my exit.
I guess it's very good. Like in gaming, it's easy to network because I cannot imagine if Sonia was working in some other tech company or other industry. I probably would have never talked to her and said, "Oh, I need a person for the session." Like like in 2 days and come here. No one would. People would have told me, "Go
Yeah,
shut
really,
up."
let's do
But
it.
in
Let's
gaming, I
go.
think it's much more casual. Like in
Yeah.
gaming, people are much more accepting and informal. They like talking to people. So I find this industry much more enjoyable than the other serious ones.
Yeah, exactly. All thanks to all three, like Aruj, Sonia, and then Vajiha as well. No, not to ignore Vajiha. She also she struggled, speaking, and even with the bad internet, she
Yeah.
joined us and speak up here, which is great, which is really great, and I appreciate it. You know.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for your time because I know it's quite hard to come on weekends. That's the only day everyone gets to rest. So we should end it here and everyone have a nice weekend and a very nice dinner to all of you. So goodbye.
Okay, Allah Hafiz.
Bye.
Fill the feedback. Bye. Fill the feedback for sure. The form. Okay. Allah
Yeah,
Hafiz.
do
Bye.
do fill the feedback forms. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Allah Hafiz. Bye. Bye.